Why you are not in control of your life? What if the life you are living right now was never chosen by you? What if every choice you made today was already decided before you felt the desire to choose? I want you to sit with that for a moment, not to scare you, but to wake you up. You open your eyes in the morning and your hand moves toward your phone long before your mind understands what is happening. You breathe, you scroll, you repeat, and you call it a decision. But deep inside, you know it does not feel like one. My name is Wason, and on Learn English Listening, I speak to the part of you that is tired of living on autopilot, the part that knows there is something more, the part that wants to think clearly, live intentionally, and stop repeating the same quiet mistakes. I teach English here, but not through memorizing lists or following boring rules. I teach through truth, through the kind that forces you to stop, think, and see yourself honestly. Before we go any further, I want to know something. Where are you listening from right now? And what time of the day is it where you are? Tell me in the comments. I want to know who is walking this road with me. I want to know who is awake enough to face this question. If you have ever felt like your life is happening without your permission, if you have ever wondered why your days look the same even when you want them to change, if you have ever sensed that something deeper is pulling the strings, stay with me. What you are about to hear might be the most important truth you have ignored for too many years. There is a quiet suffering that almost no one talks about. It is not loud. It does not melt down your world. It does not announce itself. It simply repeats itself through your mornings, your decisions, your reactions, your silence. You wake up and feel the weight of the same thoughts you carried yesterday. You tell yourself you will change. You tell yourself you will start fresh. But when the moment arrives, when the choice stands in front of you, something inside pulls you back into the same loop. Your life begins to feel like the same playlist on repeat, the same mornings, the same arguments, the same dreams that never move forward. You start wondering if you are broken, if you are weak, if you are falling behind while everyone else is moving ahead. But you are not broken. You are not weak. You are living inside an old system. A system built before you were aware enough to question it. Most people think they fail because they lack discipline, but the truth is far simpler and far harder to face. You are not fighting your laziness. You are fighting your programming. You are fighting habits that were repeated for years. You are fighting emotional patterns that were modeled for you long before you understood what they meant. You are fighting beliefs that were whispered into your mind when you were too young to defend yourself. Let me ask you something. Have you ever lived the same day for so long that one morning you looked around and suddenly realized nothing had changed? Tell me in the comments if you have felt that. Many people will quietly say yes, and you might be surprised how many of them are living the same silent struggle as you. There is a reason this happens. There is a reason your life repeats even when your heart wants something new. And when you understand that reason, everything begins to shift. This next part is where the door finally opens. There is a hidden system behind every action you take. Most people never see it. They blame themselves for choices that were never truly choices. They punish themselves for behaviors that were shaped long before they could speak. But once you understand how this system works, you will never look at your life the same way again. The first idea is a phrase you will hear often in psychology: cognitive autopilot. It means your mind makes decisions without asking your permission. You drive home and realize you do not remember the last few minutes. You reach for your phone without noticing the moment before the movement. You respond to stress using a pattern you learned years ago. This is not intention. This is automatic code. The second idea is something most people feel but cannot name: emotional inheritance. These are the fears, worries, reactions, and emotional habits you absorb from your family long before you know what emotion means. Maybe your parent reacted with panic. Maybe they carried silence. Maybe they lived in survival mode. You learned their emotional language before you learned your own. That is not weakness. That is inheritance. The third idea is one of the most powerful forces shaping your life. Environment scripting. This means your surroundings write the script of your behavior, the people you spend time with, the expectations of your home, the culture of your workplace, even the quiet beliefs of your neighborhood. You think you created your opinions, but in truth, you copied them long before you evaluated them. I want to know something. Which one hit you the hardest? Cognitive autopilot, emotional inheritance, or environment scripting? Tell me in the comments. The one you choose says a lot about the pattern running your life. When you understand the script, you can finally begin rewriting it. And that is where change truly begins. There is a turning point in every life. A moment when you finally see the pattern instead of being controlled by it. And once you see it, even for a second, the pattern loses a little of its power. You cannot break the old code with willpower. You cannot fight a lifetime of habits with motivation. But you can break it with awareness. And awareness begins the instant you catch yourself in the act. Imagine someone reaching for their phone without thinking, the same way they have done 1,000 times. But this time, something happens. They see their hand move before their mind gives the command. In that tiny pause, they realize something important. They were not choosing. They were repeating. And in that small realization, the loop cracks. Awareness is not dramatic. It is not loud. It does not announce itself. It is a quiet voice that says, "I see what I am doing." And that voice is enough to interrupt the cycle. When you see your habit, you step outside of it. When you see your reaction, it loses its authority. When you see your fear rising in your chest, you stop being the fear and start being the witness. Let me ask you something. What is the one pattern you are tired of repeating in your life? Say it in the comments. Naming it does not fix everything, but it does something even more powerful. It brings the pattern into the light, and anything brought into the light begins to dissolve. You are closer to change than you think, closer than you have ever been. Not because your life is less complicated, but because you are finally starting to see the truth behind it. The moment you see the code, you stop being controlled by the code. And that moment is happening for you right now. You and I are standing at the same crossroad. It is the place where you stop blaming yourself for a life you never fully chose. It is the place where you begin to understand that you were shaped by forces older than your awareness. Childhood patterns, family emotions, environmental expectations. Habits repeated for years. All of them wrote the early chapters of your life. But they do not have to write the ending. You are not rewriting your story from nothing. You are reclaiming it, taking it back from the invisible systems that have pulled you for so long. This is not about becoming a perfect person. This is about becoming a present one. The kind of person who notices the moment before the reaction. The kind of person who pauses long enough to choose a different response. The kind of person who stops running the old script and begins shaping a new one. Let me bring you back to one powerful truth. You cannot escape your unconscious programming, but you can interrupt it. You can bend it. You can expand the tiny space between trigger and action. That space is where your freedom lives. That space is where the first real decision of your life begins. At this moment, you stand between comfort and growth. Which path will you take? You already know the answer. You felt it the moment you clicked this video. A part of you is done with the old loop. A part of you is tired of being pushed by patterns you did not choose. A part of you is ready to step forward. If this video gave you something real, share it with someone who needs strength today. And subscribe to keep walking with me on this journey of English and self-growth. Awareness is the first victory, and today you earned it.